Shalom from Israel, I'm Ariel Ben Amram. This week we're going to reflect on Psalm 58 by King David. We have to say that the whole book of Psalms is a completed work, meaning that everything is together, everything is connected. When King David speaks about wickedness, there's a whole set of references in every direction: war, within our consciousness, referring to justice, referring to relationships. There's a wide range of possibilities when we read the book of Psalms. It's not just one subject and many subjects, but again, all of them are interconnected. And that common denominator is the pursuit of goodness and the fighting or the opposition to wickedness, to evil. That, of course, encompasses the whole idea of Judaism, the whole message, the entire message of the Torah, the Jewish Bible. And in this case, we make this introduction because this particular psalm has to do with the different projections of wickedness. In this case, specifically, is based on the lack of judgment. So let's start. Actually, the title that some interpretations give to this particular Psalm 58 is God judges the earth. So it's about justice. Again, we have to insist that justice and judgment, the way they're written in the Hebrew Bible, they do not refer to the court of law, where there's a judge, there's a prosecutor, there's a defense, and then there's a judgment in order to punish the evil and compensate the righteous. That's the general perception that we have, but in the case of the Hebrew Bible, when we talk about justice, we're talking about judgment. Judgment in the sense, as we have mentioned many times, that we have to still mention it every time when they are referred to like good judgment. It's like doing the right thing. So we're talking about justice is about doing what is proper, what is right. So the idea of judgment is emphasizing the ethical and moral foundation of justice, of goodness. So in other words, the idea is to let goodness prevail. That's the whole point of justice. So when we're talking about judgment, we're talking about correcting, not necessarily punishment. I mean, in certain cases, yes, it's about punishment. It's about pointing out to the evil ones and being brought to justice, yes. But again, we have to understand judgment as the way we approach reality. Instead of having a good judgment, instead of having this clarity in order to do what is proper, do what is right. So let's start. King David begins saying, "Do you indeed speak righteousness, silent ones?" This translation is a general translation because the literal translation varies from the way the verbs are presented in first person, second person, plural. So it's a switching coming back and forth, but the subject is the same. So in this case, the translation is try to get the general meaning of the words, not the specific meaning. So in this case, do you indeed speak righteousness, silent ones? So basically, this is silent ones. In the original Hebrew, they said about dumb one, like people who are deaf. So, in this case, silent ones. So, meaning that people who are not, they don't have an understanding because they don't listen, they don't hear, they can't hear. So in this case, who is going to have a good judgment if the person doesn't understand what's going on? And we present a case in court and the judge doesn't know what are the elements, the circumstances from which the case was brought to court. So this is more or less the context. Do you indeed speak righteousness? Silent one, the silent one in this case again are the deaf ones. And we're talking about judges here. Do you judge blamelessly, you sons of men? So there are two things here in this. Blamelessly is like they basically are not giving judgment, they're not blaming anyone. Okay. And then the second is like you sons of men. It's like in this case, sons of men is presented in a derogative way. The idea is that we are sons of God, all of us. Okay, so our judgment is based on the references, the ways and attributes with which God relates to us and His creation. This is the way we're supposed to judge or have judgment. But if we're sons of men, so basically we follow a different pattern. So in this case, David is telling them that you are not judging as being children of God, meaning you are not judging based on God's ways and attributes and God's commandments and God's will and God's rules. You basically are judging based on your own individual, personal, materialistic approach. Verse 2, no, in your heart you plot injustice. You measure out the violence of your hands in the earth. So they're telling them, you gentlemen, you are not righteous people. You don't act according to what is right. So there is no morals or ethics in this case. When they say you measure out the violence of your hands in the earth, this is basically we're talking about the way we manifest a wicked perception of reality. It's just when we have our own way to perceiving meaning, ways that are tampered by negative traits and trends in consciousness, either by wrath, by arrogance, by coveting, by envy, by jealousy. Those are not the elements that form, that build a good judgment. So this is basically what they create is violence. Violence in this case is not meant the way we understand it. Violence is when we altered the harmony and the balance of things. So it's like we agitate, we break the balance. Okay? When we say that justice is a balance, and a lady blindfolded holding a balance, meaning that she doesn't have preferences for anybody, she's blind, and balance is that she basically takes all the elements brought to justice in order to evaluate what is the right verdict. So, in this case, when they say you're bringing violence, is that you are distorting the harmony of society, the harmony of consciousness, of goodwill, by judging, meaning by acting in a negative way. Verse 3, the wicked go astray from the womb. They are wayward as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Now it's interesting, this metaphor that King David is using. It's like these people came out of a womb and went astray, so without direction. as long as they are being born, they speak lies. But basically, they say that they are not coming from a solid, righteous, veritable, like truthful origin or approach. They don't have a truthful approach. So it's like the origin, meaning they were born without these elements, without these clear, righteous, positive, righteous elements or references in order to approach reality. Meaning they speak lies. They cannot speak with the truth. Verse 4, their poison is like the poison of a snake, like a deaf cobra that stops its ear, which doesn't listen to the voice of charmers, no matter how skillful the charmer may be. This is interesting, the parable. The charmer usually controls the snake, by the music that he's playing or the movement that he makes. So basically the snakes do a move according to the charmer, the person who is making them move. So in this case, not even that. Okay, so imagine if already the nature of snakes is to listen and to follow the charmer. And in this case, and it's wrong, because a charmer is a charmer and a snake is a snake, but even though they don't even listen to the charmer. So imagine how bad these people are. How wicked, how crooked. Break their teeth, God. So David is asking, break their teeth, meaning don't let them speak lies. Break their teeth in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions. Young lions, in several cases in the Hebrew Bible, are related in a negative way. The idea is recklessness and self-centeredness and selfishness. That's basically the idea of a young lion. An adult lion is like it's a more developed personality, but a young lion is usually they are related to snakes. So when they say small lions, it's small lion and snakes. And again, as undeveloped qualities and traits in consciousness. By undeveloped, what we mean is a negative. They haven't get to a level of righteousness. Verse 7, let them vanish as water that flows away. When they draw the bow, let the arrows be made blunt. Let them be like a snail which melts and passes away, like the stillborn child who has not seen the sun. The idea basically is to eradicate this kind of attitude, this kind of behavior, this kind of mentality from our consciousness. That's the idea. Before your pots where people cook, can feel the heat of the thorns, he will sweep away the green and the burning alike. The idea is that these last verses have to do with the final redemption. The final redemption is related to a special consciousness that in the Jewish tradition is called the Messianic consciousness. It's a different kind of mentality, it's a different kind of thinking that will prevail forever and ever in the end of times. This consciousness is free, completely free, separated from anything evil. So in other words, it's difficult to conceive this kind of consciousness without having this consciousness that is bound to good and evil, right and wrong, etc. So, but that's the idea. The idea, David is visualizing the future, and he says these people are not going to exist, that God is not going to allow them being part of human consciousness. That's the idea. So they will be born dead, meaning they will not be able to exist anyways. Verse 10, the righteous shall rejoice when he sees the vengeance, the retribution. The retribution in this case, taking retribution against evil, against this evil mentality, against negative traits and trends in consciousness. It's not about retribution. It's about applying, as the psalm was saying at the beginning, the right judgment. So we're going to have a judgment eventually when we are fully redeemed, the final redemption in Jewish prophecy. We're going to be separated from everything that is negative. So that's the idea. So the vengeance. The vengeance is basically the contrast. It's like this is gonna cease to be in order to have this. So it don't necessarily have to be taken as a vengeance. It's a process of redirecting negative traits and trends in consciousness towards a positive end. So these lower aspects of consciousness that we may have, like passions, instincts, desire, lusting, coveting, they're going to be redirected, reoriented towards pursuing goodness as the final goal of life in the material world. That's the idea. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. This is interesting. Wash the feet in the blood of the wicked. Again, blood is related to life. In other words, we mentioned that in previous commentaries, that even the wicked, they need goodness in order to survive. They need the goodness of being protected, they need the goodness of being fed, they need the goodness of taking medical care. Those things are good. Even if they're evil, they still receive goodness. Sounds like irony. We would say that it's not a paradox, it's more ironic. Because if people are fully evil, they shouldn't get any benefit from goodness whatsoever. But they do. They do. So this is what we're relating, that the righteous shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. The life that the wicked have, they have life. They have something good in them. It would be something that would be in our favor. In other words, the righteous people are going to benefit from the life force that holds the wicked. So in other words, it's not wickedness or evil that we're going to get all the way around. It's the strength that sustains, that gives life to evil. That's what we're going to have, in addition to our goodness. And again, this conveys with the idea that in the Messianic times, in the redemption, everything's going to be for good. Everything. If we're lusting for goodness, for knowledge of God, for righteousness, for higher understanding and knowledge, or coveting, or jealousy. Everything will have a positive end. So we'll be jealous about being good, for instance. So we'll covet goodness for ourselves in order to expand goodness. Because evil is not going to exist. It's not going to exist. So everything would be focused on goodness. So when the prophet Isaiah, he said the only interest will be the knowledge of God, which will be like the waters that covers the oceans. this is what we mean. All the focus will be in knowing the goodness coming from God at different levels of understanding and of perception, beyond what we can grasp now. Verse 11 and last of this Psalm 58, so that men shall say, most certainly there is a reward for the righteous. Most certainly there is a God who judges the earth. And again, this God's judgment is the goodness of God, which is going to prevail in every facet, dimension, and expression of life. That's the end of this psalm. And again, the last ones, as we said, had to do with a change of consciousness, which is related to the end of times, the final redemption in Jewish prophecy, in which everything will be judged, meaning directed, ruled by the goodness that is going to be beyond our understanding as now. So we will understand it in a greater, unfathomable way. So we pray for that. So we leave this behind, this current state of consciousness, and we will still have to struggle with bad judgment and by wickedness and by negative traits and trends in consciousness. We will leave them aside. And their blood, their life, the life source, are going to be directed in our steps. That's what we're going to put our feet on. Toward a greater understanding of God's love. So with this we finish our commentary on Psalm 58 by King David, wishing you, as always, an abundantly blessed week. And until next time.